Oh, her clock's official. Call this meeting to order. Could you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll start off with public forum, 5 minutes per item maximum. We would like to welcome members of the public who have taken the time to attend this meeting and provide comments on matters related to district business. Any member of the public may address the board relating to any matter within the board's jurisdiction. This need not be related to any item on the agenda. However, the board cannot act on an item unless it was noticed on the agenda. Persons speaking during the public comment will be limited to 5 minutes, or depending upon the number of persons wishing to speak, it may be reduced to allow all members of the public the opportunity to address the board. Is there any public comment? Okay, move into the consent calendar.
Okay, consent calendar. Item number 1, minutes of the regular board meeting on March 26, 2019. Item number 2, approval of reimbursement claims for director's statement of meetings attended and or travel expenses and the claim summary for March 2019.
I don't have anything I'd like to pull. I don't know if anybody else does.
Okay. Next is consent calendar
Public count,
or public?
public comment, and then we'll do a motion to approve.
Okay, public. Is there any public comment on that? Oh. Anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second it.
Been regularly moved and seconded that we approve the consent calendar. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Unanimous. Next, we'll have regular business.
Okay. Item number 3, public hearing, sequence notice of exemption and proposed amendments to the district's water rules and regulations and wastewater ordinance regarding disconnection of service by customer.
This is the time and place for a public hearing to consider the proposed amendments to the water rules and regulations wastewater ordinance. Has the notice of hearing been given?
The notice of hearing was published once in the Union Democrat. The proof of publication is in the district files.
Will staff please provide the staff report?
All right, President, members of the board, I'll just keep this very brief. We discussed this at the March 12th board meeting when you authorized us to establish the public hearing and notice this in the paper. It has been noticed in the paper. There has been any changes, no comments to my knowledge, and just as a recap, very briefly, it gives the general manager additional flexibility when considering disconnection requests for some of the instances, circumstances listed below, which at the time when we discussed this with the board, it made good sense. There are times when a disconnection is warranted. And so we're just asking to go ahead and amend the wastewater and ordinance and the water rules and regulations to reflect this. Happy to answer any questions.
Wait, Ron.
I don't have any question, but I just want to thank staff and everyone involved for getting this finally to a point of being done, because I think this is a real attempt, again, on TUD's part to be as fair and square with our ratepayers as we possibly can. So, thank you.
Ron?
Yeah, I agree also. I think you've covered everything we talked about in the meeting, and then I think it also gives our general manager some additional latitude if there's something that falls outside of the scope of this, that he can make that determination. So I'm all for this.
Okay. Do any other members have any questions before we hear from the public? Any public comment? This is getting easy. Were any written comments received?
No written comments were received.
Okay. Are there any members of the audience who wish to be heard on this matter? If there is nothing further to be presented relating to the proposed amendments to the water rules and regulations and wastewater ordinance, I hereby declare the public hearing to be closed.
Now they can vote.
Okay, I move to adopt resolution number
319.
approving CEQA notice of exemption and proposed amendments to the district's water rules and regulations and wastewater ordinance regarding disconnection of service by customer.
I'll second that.
It's been regularly moved and seconded that we approve the motion. Is there any other comments? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Is that soft enough?
Okay, item number 4, award contract to Woolery Timber Management Incorporated for the Lions South Fork Watershed Forest Resiliency Project Mastication Units 1 through 4.
Good
Mr.
afternoon.
Glenn.
Yeah, I'm here. Okay, so this, the award of the mastication project here, Lisa's primarily been managing this effort in the Lions South Fork Forest Watershed Resiliency Project. It's grant funded through the Sierra Nevada Conservancy. Partners with the Forest Service, PG&E, SPI, Highway 108, Fire Safe Council, California Conservation Corps, Miwok Fire. We have some hand thinning projects going right now, and this is the mastication project that'll be going to thinning the fuels around the PG&E main canal to help keep it resilient from fire. This project, we've identified about 42 acres. It's between the South Fork Road and the main canal. If you go to South Fork Road where it hits the main canal down to the river, it's kind of the lower half of that. And there's properties on Forest Service lands kind of between South Fork Road and the main canal. A registered forester has gone through and identified the areas to cover. There may be more or less in the particular project, and we have Woolery Timber Incorporated, who is the apparent low bidder here, and I think we have all of our paperwork together. This project will be put together under a Forest Service specifications, very specific rules and specifications they have applied. So we've taken their specs and it is incorporated into this document, and we'll be following all of their rules, and we're working closely with them and the contractor. They're there in a nutshell. Any questions I might be able to answer?
Ron?
Yeah, I have, well, just a comment. I think it's great we're moving forward with this because we always talk about this being the Achilles heel. And so anything we can do to make it more resilient while we look at some more permanent long-term fixes, I think, makes sense. I have two questions. One is, I'm not familiar with Woolery Timber Management. Have we used them in the past?
Not that I'm aware of. The forester that we're using, Chris Trott, he is familiar with these guys and knows their work.
Okay.
And he is, Woolery is also has or will be performing work for Tuolumne County, if I'm not mistaken. They've got some projects.
So they have worked in Tuolumne County before as part of this other fire resiliency and other clearing?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And then in a lot of other of our contracts, we end up with about a 10% contingency factor. This one's asking for a 20%. Is that because we found just from experience that we tend to find more of these issues that come back up, or why is the difference between a 10 and 20%?
Yeah, this particular one, the project is costed on a per acre basis. We start with 42 acres. That's pretty much where we feel we'll fall into. We wanted to allow for a little bit more leeway. If there's more area they can masticate and clear, then we'd like some leeway to do that. However, this is pretty much where we feel it's going to be. You don't know for sure what actual conditions we might encounter. There may be slopes that are too steep or other restricted areas that we can't get into, maybe damage that's taking place. Or some areas that we can actually cover a little bit more.
So to be clear, what you're asking us for is there might be something on that 42 acres, but in the event that we have some additional land we can add, you want the authorization to expend that so that we can get some additional mastication
Yes.
done on that area.
Absolutely.
And I'm fine with that as well.
Good.
Okay.
Ron?
Okay, well, I had questions about that, the bid winner too. Are they local? I've never heard of them. Are they out of the area?
They're local.
Really?
Right. We worked with the county. This is actually a listing of sort of the county known operators that provide this service, and we sent the RFP to all of those operators as well as advertised sort of globally on this. And so they're definitely a group that's here local.
Wow, that's great. I like seeing the money stay here in the county and recirculate. The other thing that I wanted to ask was, you may be the wrong person to be asking this, probably Lisa Westbrook, but a couple months ago I asked Maria, I can't remember the last name, Bennick or something. Benich, thank you, from the Forest Service, if they had been watching what was going on along there, and because they have many parcels of land in that area, and I just was wondering if they had tried to partner up with work that was being done through this SNC grant to kind of parlay it, get more done and get a bigger buffer. So seeing that this is, you already stated that this is being done under Forest Service guidelines, strict guidelines, I think is what you said. That probably is the answer to my question, but still, it would be very interesting. She said she didn't know. That's what concerns me. It would be nice to make sure that they also were throwing some effort and money at it so that it could expand the area. The more buffer we get around that flume, the better off this county is going to be. Thank you.
Yeah, so what other lands are involved in addition to Forest Service land?
There's Sierra Pacific Industry Lands. There is PG&E, some PG&E land, which I believe is already done. I think those are the two major landowners. There's a private piece that is pretty small, but primarily Forest Service and SPI.
And then who's the lead agency?
We are.
Okay. And are you working, did I understand you're working with the Forest Service? Will the Forest Service then provide oversight or administer the contract?
We'll be working with them on some of their exclusion areas. There's some weeds, some sensitive cultural areas, and so they'll be doing weed inspections and a number of things there. We're keeping them up to speed. We're sort of working hand in hand and letting them know where we're at, and they'll be doing inspections and kind of pre-job meetings and this sort of thing. So, we're hand in hand.
And so they did their own environmental compliance?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a possibility to have a tour of that and to get some maps?
We have maps. I can certainly send those on to you. Mm-hmm. So I thought I had them as part of the package, but I can do that. In terms of a tour,
walk through.
Yeah, I would imagine we'd throw something together.
Glenn, does the funding agency have any tours on project closeout, or is Barbara, are you interested during active work, prior to work, or at project closeout, I guess?
Yeah, well, in my world, there's a difference between mechanical thinning and mastication, and I would really like to see what is going to happen on the land before it happens on the land.
We could probably, yeah. I mean, there's probably even some information that we could obtain from the contractor on the methods they're going to use, the equipment they're going to use, that kind of thing. There might even be YouTube videos out there.
Is there like a pre-op meeting then?
Yeah. I can provide you the specs. Before.
Usually we don't have board members there at the pre-job meeting.
No, I wasn't
but,
asking to attend.
Okay,
It was just, I'm just getting an idea of when the project is scheduled to start, and maybe just have it's only 42 acres, just have a walkthrough so I can get a better idea of what's going on.
How about we start with providing some maps, and we can provide you a schedule as it gets closer to when the contractor will be starting. And so that's.
And to be honest, my concern is previous confusion over an earlier rendition of this, not quite sure who the lead agency was, being told I wasn't, on project site, and having the Forest Service District archaeologists get a call on some of the marked timber, and I just wanted to, of course, getting the initial cold call from a property owner who didn't feel included, as a recipient of that. I'm not judging any of this. I'm just saying I was a recipient of that, went out and took a look. And so I just have some questions that remain. I am not knocking the project whatsoever. It's just that when you have multiple jurisdictions and multiple agency goals and objectives, then there needs to be some oversight. And so I'm just very interested in seeing what's going on.
Full disclosure, he did a small job for me last year, and I wouldn't know if he walked in here right now, but he did a fantastic job. He came highly recommended by a friend of mine. It's a logger and a masticator. Small job, but just so you know. Anybody else have anything else?
The area that this project's going to be done on is not going to be in the WUI, with homes in the area, right? This is out beyond it, if I understood your description, correct?
Right. Yeah, it's not near homes or anything. The closest thing it would be near would be the South Fork Road, and they'll have controls as they operate in those areas.
Okay, thank you.
Any other board member have anything? Any member of the public have a question or comments? Okay, thank you, Glenn.
Thank you.
Go for a motion?
Yep. Did you make one?
No. But I can.
I move to approve the recommended action.
All right.
I'll second.
It's been regularly moved and seconded that we approve the recommended action. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Okay, item number 5, 2019 third grade water conservation poster contest winners.
The highlight of the meeting.
Yes.
Good afternoon, board members. I just wanted to say that as I do a lot of different things here at the district, this is one of my favorite things. Lisa Westbrook, Public Relations. So we do every year. I get the privilege of partnering up with Becky Miller-Cripps. She is our project coordinator. And so when we get together in every January, Becky and I, we start talking about planning and the visits to the third grade classes in Tuolumne County. So this year, Becky visited 15 every year. It fluctuates. Some there's more, some there's less. There's a huge fluctuation of student enrollment in Tuolumne County, but we open it to all classes, whether it's a private school or a charter school. We'll come and tell them all about water. We talk about the water cycle, water conservation. The kids get really, really into it. Then we end it with the poster contest. Every drop counts. We had about 352 people that Becky went and saw with the teachers, and it's so great that she gets to go in there and tell a little bit about the history, because a lot of them just don't know where our water comes from. So I think it's a huge impact. So unfortunately, since We don't have evening board members board meetings anymore. We don't have any of the students here. The second place winner thought she might be able to make it around 3, but we'll see. But the board meeting might be over by then. So anyways, I did want to show the first place winner was Haley Ann Bauman. And Ron Ringen and Bob Rucker were our judges this year. But she did an excellent job talking about every drop counts, and she's got the water and the earth, and she did an awesome job. So we were very pleased.
Got all those colors in there.
Yeah, very colorful. So Haley Ann, she is the first place winner and gets a family 4-pack to Great America Amusement Park. So that's a big, big prize. And then also I partnered with Swirls Yogurt. So all the first place winners, including all these children's posters here, they all get a coupon for a free yogurt.
Oh, wow.
And then second place is Katie Combs. She's a 3rd grader from Sonora Elementary. And we thought it was so cute with the dog winking. She put a lot of time and effort into the poster. And so Katie gets a gift certificate for 4 for bowling at the Black Oak Bowling Lanes. So another family outing. And of course the Swirls Yogurt. And I do want to applaud Becky. She's been doing it for so many years and has been so gracious to work with us. And she's not quite sure what her plans are for next year. She's been skiing more and she has a granddaughter. And I'm always helping she'll say yes, but we'll see what happens. But thank you, Becky, for all of your time. And if you want to say anything, you're more than welcome to come up. Thank you. Any questions from the board?
I'd just like to make a statement. Becky, you definitely got your message across to all these students, because looking at all this art, and it's really hard to judge. Ron's a professional judge here.
Oh, yeah.
I would not want your job.
It's tough. Looking at all these posters, you could see that the message really got through to the kids. So very good job.
Good. Well, I think one of the most interesting things that I've noticed, because as Lisa said, I've been doing this for a while, and I actually did this for TUD the very first time in 2006, so it's been a little while. But the thing that I'm noticing is trends in education that are happening in Tuolumne County, and that's not specific to the TUD interaction in the classroom. But like Lisa said, we only were in 15 classrooms this year, which is quite a bit smaller as far as number of classes. But at the same time, we had impact, or at least had interaction with more students. And what I'm seeing is that, for example, the first year I did this, I think that Twain Hart had 2 or 3 third grade classes. This year they had 1, and I think it might have been a combination class. I'm seeing lots of combination classes as enrollments are dwindling in Tuolumne County, and teachers in my age bracket are retiring, and schools are not necessarily replacing them, because as enrollments fall, of course, the educational income falls as well. So education in Tuolumne County is changing. And then another thing that Lisa and I talked about is one of the teachers expressed to me that in the 3rd grade there's so much going on, and this is the first year when they are exposed to standardized testing, and now everything is online, so the kids are learning how to log on to their computers and how to take a test on a computer. There are training sessions to teach these students how to take their standardized tests. And so the teachers were saying that since they're working with standardized testing, and this is the year when Smokey the Bear comes into their classroom and has a poster contest, and this is the year when I think it's the Rotary hands out a dictionary to every child, and the Lions has a readathon contest where they award an iPad. So there's lots going on. So in the future, Lisa and I may look at maybe we'll go into 5th grade, because 5th grade is where in the state of California they study water and the water cycle as part of their standards. So we may change this when we bring it back to you in the future. We'll see.
And so then we might do something else besides 5th graders probably would not be into the poster contest.
Or it might be a different level
or we
of
could
art.
do a poem or an essay or something like that. So
Right.
we'll
And I
see what
probably would
happens.
not be teaching them to act out the water cycle song. But anyway, this is great fun. It's one of the most fun things I do all year long. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for being a good judge. Took the pressure off of me. Staff reports.
I have a few items today, Mr. President, members of the board. I send out notices here and there and keep your board educated on what's going on and any issues and concerns. So you may have seen some of this, but just as a quick reminder, we have hopefully what I would suggest is the last strategic plan workshop coming up Thursday, April 25th. That's 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. I know our strategic planning team has met a couple of times, and we've worked on developing a draft strategic plan with goals and objectives. We'll be sending that out hopefully a week before that workshop, so you have a chance to review that in advance. Because our schedules are so tight, and we're really booking through mid-year already, I hate to say it, but we got to jam a few other workshops in here. And based on your board's response, we're looking at the capital improvement planning workshop for Monday, April 29th. An email did go out on all these dates. I'm just reminding each of you. So that again is 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Monday, April 29th for CIP, which is the building blocks to your budget. And our first budget workshop is Thursday, May 23rd. And it may be, with all the advanced work we're doing, that we only need one budget workshop. We'll see. If we need a second, we'll do that. And then the goal again is to adopt your fiscal year these years are going by too fast. I think it would be 2019, 2020. I can't even say it. I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time. 2020. That will be at your first board meeting in June. And that's the plan. And it's all tentative at this point. I do want to announce we had an interesting meeting yesterday with Habitat for Humanity. They had some issues dealing with connections and the timing of those connections for new homes that they're building. And hopefully you know a little background about Habitat for Humanity, but they do housing for people in need, and they do great work across the nation. We have a real active Habitat for Humanity in Tuolumne County, and I had Melissa send this to your board emails, but Habitat Humanity is having a dedication for 2 homes on Saturday, April 27th at 10 a.m. at Parrots Ferry Village in Columbia. So that if you're interested in supporting Habitat for Humanity, that's a good opportunity to help dedicate those 2 homes. And that's out by email as well as a reminder. Yesterday, late afternoon into the evening, I attended the LAFCO meeting. And as you know, your board adopted a resolution in 2018 expressing an interest in special district representation on LAFCO. At the LAFCO Commission yesterday approved a resolution recognizing the special district committee, which represented 9 special districts in this county. There was, of those 9, they all adopted resolutions expressing an interest, which was over 10% of the assessed tax value of lands within Tuolumne County. And according to the Knox-Cortez-Hertzberg, I always forget it, the LAFCO Act that's been amended over the years. Basically, LAFCO is required to accept that recognition of the special districts, which they did in yesterday's resolution. But there's a couple of hurdles that remain. So according to that act, the LAFCO executive officer has 15 days to hold a meeting of the special districts to answer a couple of questions. One, what special districts are going to fill those 2 seats? And then secondly, according to that act, the generic funding formula is 1/3 county, 1/3 city, 1/3 special districts. So barring any kind of negotiation on a custom cost-sharing arrangement, that 1/3 split will move forward. So the special districts need to get together in that committee forum and decide, do they accept a 1/3? And if not, what would they accept? And if they don't accept the 1/3, there will be a bit of a back and forth between the city, county, and special districts while they negotiate that cost-sharing formula. I think CSDA's presented here and at the LAFCO previously, CSDA's California Special Districts Association. They're interested in support special district representation on LAFCOs. And I do have a primer on that if you're interested. I think it's been submitted to your board in the past, but there's a nice map of California about which counties have special districts on LAFCO and what some of those funding arrangements are or cost sharing arrangements are. And most of them are custom. They're not necessarily 1/3 split between city, county, and special districts. So all that has to be decided at that special district committee.
How is that going to impact the city? Because currently, isn't the city just paying 8%?
Yes.
That's correct.
So how would that, suddenly now they're bumped up to 1/3. I'm sure they would have a
Yes.
dog in the fight.
I think
Absolutely.
I think there's going to be some give and take, and there's going to be multiple meetings as this bounces back between county, city, and special districts. And I can answer a few questions because this is just a report. It's not agendized. It was a meeting late yesterday. It's hot off the press. I thought I'd just share with you what took place. But if you have a quick question, I can answer.
Yeah, I do. Will the special districts be able to meet prior to that because if you only have 2 seats, but you have, 11 special districts or?
There's 9 that adopted a resolution.
Okay.
Of the 17 in the county.
Oh, okay. So I guess where I'm going with this is it'd be kind of nice if they had already worked that out between them, number one. And number two is it possible for that to be a rotating seating arrangement?
Yeah, so the reason why the special districts hadn't met previously to discuss this is they needed a response from the county. So this is your first response where they have something to actually discuss. And as far as who gets the seats and rotation and cost sharing, that's going to be all up to the special districts. One uncertainty for me is whether or not all 17 are invited or just the 9. I don't know, but the executive officer will be sending out a meeting invite. And I'll keep your board posted, and it's possible if there's information to present, we'll agendize it for an upcoming meeting.
Can I add one thing to that?
Sure.
The other interesting thing on that, Ron, is that the default is that the special districts then contribute to whatever their prorated share of, and the budget's about $54,000, right. So it would be about 1/3 of that.
It's more, it was the adopted budget yesterday, I think was about 67,000. It's a little higher because they added.
They added those other.
LAFCO Commission did adopt the next fiscal year budget, and they added 15,000 for a consultant to assist the LAFCO staff because they're so understaffed. There's so much work going on. There's some of the project approvals, but besides project approvals, LAFCO is also responsible for the municipal service reviews. And I didn't even mention this to staff, but TUD's MSR is coming up this upcoming fiscal year. So that's got another project that is going to be added, and we need to make sure it's in the budget. But LAFCO has to review and approve those MSRs, and they need help with that work. And so they had that $15,000 add to their budget.
Mm-hmm. So going back to that, then the way the default works is then you're based on gross revenues of what your prorated share of that is. So, assuming that we don't negotiate the 8%, we're also, of the groups that are in there, a significantly higher portion of that program, which is not what we kind of discussed when we originally decided to go into LAFCO. So I think we as a board, as this thing unfolds, we need to look at, how we want to participate and if it's what we were sort of presented when it was first up. Because the groups, and if we're paying the most, do we get, standard representation, or does it rotate, or how does that all work? So I think there's still some issues to work out with that.
And I appointed Ron to represent us, so he's very knowledgeable in all this stuff, and LAFCO. And so hopefully he'll keep us informed.
So we'll bring
I know I'll do a
more,
good job.
as this unfolds, we'll bring it back to a regular board meeting agenda so your full board can discuss this. So moving on, we do have Cal Poly. It's been confirmed. Dr. Charles Burt will be here Monday the 15th. We're excited. We're hoping we learn something with
what's the
their
date?
expertise. So it is Monday, April 15th. And we'll be working in the office that day to really go over a lot of data. I know that there are directors that are interested in talking to Dr. Charles Burt. So what I propose to do to facilitate that opportunity is schedule a special board meeting for that date, Monday, April 15th at 4 p.m. I'm hoping that works for your schedule because his availability is highly limited. And so if that's okay with you, I will have our board secretary send out and post a special board meeting notice for Monday, April 15th, right here in your board chambers for you to talk to Dr. Charles Burt.
Great.
And that'll be 4 o'clock. And then Tuesday, Dr. Charles Burt and our technical team will be starting early, and we'll be seeing as much as we possibly can. We're trying to rent a passenger van so that we can communicate in between sites, but it's going to be a long day. And I really didn't think we'd have enough time to do it in one day, but that's the only day available for them. And so they got to learn as much as they learn, see, take field notes on as much as they possibly can. And recall when we approved this project, if it just looks like there's too much work, then there will probably be another site visit in the future. But for now, office work Monday, and then Tuesday, a long day getting out into the field. And we'll have myself, Eric Johnson, Eric Hall, Don Perkins, Glenn Nunnally, and then Dr. Charles Burt and a colleague of his. So we're hoping that we get some great technical information out of this. And anything we do produce and develop will be presented to your full board for discussion during a recognized agenda item so that it's an open, transparent dialogue. Speaking of getting out into our watershed and looking at water facilities, as you know, we have our water supply tour that's coming up, and that was June, I forgot to write the date down, June 6th. So it's out there. The invites did go out to everybody, including press. We did not send the itinerary because there was enough question that we wanted the flexibility to be able to have further discussion about that. There has been some questions by board members about what's the message that we're trying to convey. As you may recall, this tour started out really as a joint board meeting between your board and the county Board of Supervisors, but it grew. And with that discussion, it grew more, and then it grew more. And I think we sent invites out to over 40 individuals from the State Water Resources Control Board to directors, which are appointed by the governor, to State Water Board staff, to regional agencies that include South San Joaquin Irrigation District, Oakdale Irrigation District. I believe we sent an invite out to Calaveras County Water District, of course, the County Board of Supervisors, but just about everyone we could think of that would have an interest that we need them to know about as we partner and collaborate on critical facility and improvements in our water supply. But in terms of talking points, I think I'll take a stab at sending your board an outline this later this week just to get you thinking about it. But we are planning on starting in the upper watershed at Pinecrest and talk about that reservoir being our primary water supply source and how limited it is, and the fact that it has no carryover storage, and then work our way down through Lyons Reservoir as our diversion point, the Tuolumne Main Canal. We'll talk about the vulnerability of our water supply, not only to year-over-year precipitation, but catastrophic fire. The fact that we have 11 plus water treatment plants that Tuolumne Utilities District inherited from failing water districts that were underperforming, undersized, and need a lot of money. And we've been incrementally making these water treatment plants that are scattered across hill and dale work, but that your board's vision worked through a treated water system optimization plan last year and recommended breaking the county down into two geographic sub areas, upper basin and lower basin, and developing a regional water treatment plant that would consolidate 11 plus water treatment plants to make it more reliable, more fireproof, better water quality, energy savings. There's a lot of value in it. That was a visionary effort that your board undertook last year. We're working with staff right now to really carry that out. It needs 50, 60 million. We recognize there's very limited funds, but we're really ramping up our grant writing and really going after federal and state funding and maybe even legislative support and earmarking dollars to try to make this valuable consolidation project work. But that would be part of the tour. And we may even talk about fire vulnerability and thinning the forest, like this mastication project. So I think that's all part of the message, and we'll have key speakers along the way. We've already reserved a bus. We think we're going to get a good showing. We've already heard back from a few, so we're excited about this. I know your district has done this in the past, but I think it's a valuable opportunity to really develop our message and educate folks.
Will you be able to have speakers on the bus so that that valuable time between stops can be, really utilized? Because that's where the story, I think, can really get told.
Yeah, so part of that itinerary, there's a couple of things. One, we're trying to pick sites where we can talk about multiple benefits and multiple messages and really capitalize in the limited time that we have on this tour. So we're choosing sites very carefully so that we can cover a range of these topics. And then definitely along the way, that was one of the reasons we wanted to do a bus rather than a caravan of cars, was that we can be sharing concepts and education during the drive in between sites. So definitely.
Well, I, for one, am really looking forward to this. I think that there's going to be a lot of people that are from out of the area that are going to learn a whole bunch about the reality of Mountain County's water utilities.
And I do want to get the talking points out, though, so your board can start thinking about it. And then if we think that there's something we're missing, we can add, revise, delete, and then maybe assign certain speakers. Right now, we're just still developing the thoughts, but I summarized for you very quickly what staff's thinking about, which I think has a comprehensive coverage of what we're interested in. Our priorities really are reducing the vulnerability to water supply, regionalizing these consolidating these underperforming water treatment plants scattered all over the hills, vulnerability to fire, and our ditch systems. And I think by the time the tour is done, I think people are going to have a full narrative of what we're interested in and how we can partner, because we do need those partnerships. Then lastly, there was an email that went out about the California grant software being underperforming, is a politically correct way of putting it. And in that email that went out, there's a number of small districts around the state of California on these grant-funded projects that just don't have the day-to-day cash flow to build these projects and exercise their grants, because they have to spend the money first and then get reimbursed by the state. Because of the software glitch, the state's grant system is experiencing, similar to what happened to the Department of Motor Vehicles a number of years back, and I think they're maybe back there again. We're hearing it maybe 6, 8 months, maybe a year before this software system really is improved to the degree where they can start issuing grant contracts again and begin providing reimbursements. And so that's severely impacting smaller agencies. We do have a number of projects that are caught up in this software grant problem. We have Cuesta Heights Water Storage and Distribution Improvement Project that's pending. It's an application we have in there. It's pending, and that's a huge project for us. Another pending application is for the water main extension to Curtis Creek Elementary. Those are not going to be moving forward until the state corrects this software problem. We do have 2 existing projects that the direction is to go ahead and continue to submit quarterly progress reports on time as required per the grant agreement and submit for grant reimbursements, but we know they're not being processed right now. We've been told by State Water Board staff that they're not, but it's the Tuolumne City Water Main Replacement Project.
We pay the bill.
Mo-
That's good.
Motion lights. Move around, everybody. Come on. And then the other one was the planning grant for the regional wastewater treatment plant upgrade. So those 2 are caught up in this software problem. So we're submitting our reimbursements, but we're not getting any reimbursements from the state. Fortunately, we have the cash flow to be able to manage it for now, but we'll let your board know if that becomes a problem. That's my report. I know a little lengthy, but there's a lot going on. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Are there any other staff reports? Okay. Any questions from the public? Directors, communications, and reports. Next, start, Barb.
Okay. So let's see, when was it? All right. On April 4th, John Kingsbury and myself and Joel Metzger, who's the manager of external affairs for CCWD, we went down. We had an appointment with staff members from Senator Nielsen and LaMalfa and Representative McClintock's office and in Roseville. And the purpose of the meeting was to discuss DWR's efforts in calculating how much potable water usage for irrigable land. It's just like Pete Rostrom said, it's just such a funky word. It's should be called a syndrome or something. Okay. And to voice our concerns that we are in opposition to permanent water conservation regulations. And this is keying off that March 15th PowerPoint that we saw, where it was supposed to be, helping us retain local control of our water, but it all kind of looked like the opposite, especially when part of our definition of efficiency is the fact that we have downstream beneficiaries. So we're not wasting it. It's going to somebody else. We don't live next to the ocean. So we also discussed the possibility of establishing an advisory group, which is similar to the urban advisory group, which is what Joel Metzger is part of, because as they fly the drones over California, it's really fascinating what's happening. It's kind of similar to, well, how did they come up with 55 gallons per person per day? And they have formulas and they have science to do that. But the drones now are flying over properties all over California and determining what is black, yellow, and green. And if it's irrigable or not, or if it's native vegetation, and et cetera. So this is in our backyards, folks. This is what they're doing. And again, this is for potable delivery. But already the mountain counties want to be part of, the laws were passed. We want to be part of the ground floor of how to define the implementations of it, the implementing regs, okay? For an example, we talked about 8 significant and unique uses of water that the DWR bonifies as variances to all this. So here are the 8 variances. And I know I go over this because it just doesn't seem real to us, you know, and so bear with me because this is important. And it's also key to rural uses of water, not urban. Okay, so evaporative cooler is a variance, and these in the implementing regs, you know, they're going to consider these special significant uses of water. Horses and livestock, seasonal population, highly saline recycled water, soil compaction and dust control, water to sustain wildlife, fire protection, and agricultural use. So, you know, my bureaucratic mind works in terms of programmatic variances, you know, umbrella variances to allow us to do our thing with our water. So, you know, if we can initiate a task force, Joel Mesker's to be commended because he is right in here. What the state is doing is targeting, we have 17 pilot areas that they're doing flyover, and with that, they'll extrapolate this data for using water. And CCWD is in on the ground floor, and he really, really pushed. But really, he's one of the only mountain communities that's on the ground floor to help influence this process. So Mountain Counties is right in there. And if we could get legislative support from our legislators, they were very interested in putting an insurance company, perhaps, and fire on a rural task force, so our story can get out there and the way we use water, rather than let other people, urban people, define us. So I belabor it, but it's not going away. Yeah.
If you don't mind, I'd like to tag on to what you just said because it is very, very important, very powerful. I went to that meeting that Mountain Counties Water Resource Association put on with a speaker from the state board. And what's interesting is everything that you were just showing us is for the exterior, for outside water use. And I think one thing that most people don't understand is that they want 55-gallon use per day for interior use, so I'm having a hard time understanding how these drones and all this information of all of California's outside water use has to do with it. And I think and then it goes from 55 to 52 and a half and then down to 50 over a period of very short length of time.
It's from between 2020 and 2030.
Okay, thank you. And the only last thing I want to say is that John Kingsbury, the executive director of Mountain Counties, asked the most succinct question at the end of the meeting, and that was, and I think our GM might have had a little something to do with this, but he asked the state board fella straight up, so all this water that's going to get saved, whose benefit is that? And I've never seen anybody take 3-4 minutes to say, not answer a question in my whole life. So I think we know where it's going.
Well, he did answer the question, and it was going to be for demand in other places of the state. He did answer it. Right. And so, yeah, I don't think we should be in such a hurry to have our water leave our county. Okay, so I also worked on or reviewed some letters going out from mountain counties, again, on Senate Bill 474, which is a threat to area of origin rights, which is yet another attempt to weaken that type of legislation. That you guys may remember that this legislation was done in the 20s and 30s to reassure upstream Northern California users that their rights to future water needs would be protected. And so this again would undo our protection. So that letter is going out, and then also I talked about the permanent conservation regulations. We are opposed to that, and we don't like, obviously, the idea of losing local control. Let us decide how we use our water. So then the last thing I wanted to share, two last things. Well, I just wanted to say, again, I really wanted to commend you, Ed, for taking the lead, and Twainhart and Amador and Calaveras for writing a joint letter. So that this is good. This is how we do it. And so thank you
We're
on
going to
that.
be doing that on almost everything that you mentioned.
Yeah, and Metzger was saying how pleased he was that we did that. So it just has more clout. Okay, and the last thing is that Mountain Counties is doing a field trip also at the latter part of June. I picked up a draft copy I'd like to just give you. You can see what we're doing. And it's one of those arrangements where there's so much to see in the watershed that it is, and I don't know who the invite list is. I don't know who the targeted folks are, okay? So I can't comment on that. But it's arrive the evening before, full day of field trip, close out, next steps the following morning. Okay, it's kind of that. But its title is California United Water Conference, Watershed Stewardship in the Wildland Urban Interface. And there's going to be probably some overlap, which you might be interested in, including managing a rural water district in the watershed. And so lots and lots of guest speakers, state, federal, private partnerships, prevention versus suppression, et cetera. So a lot of things. So I'm going to give it to you, sure. And your team can mull over that. And that is...
If I may, on this, there was a Mountain Counties board meeting here about a month ago that talked about how do we work better together and educate one another and the state on watershed issues. And there's been these type of day meetings in the past, but because our watershed in the Sierra Nevada is so large, it's very difficult to travel from southern Sierra Nevada to northern Sierra Nevada. And so the discussion that the board decided on was to do this one overnight, which would facilitate a dinner and education, and then followed by a day-long tour, so that would attract more people, we hope, better allow for facilitated discussion and debriefing. So I think this will be a first for Mountain Counties and hopefully very successful.
And that's not what I gave you. This is what you just talked about.
So I thought this was because it's an overnighter.
Yeah, this is, well, that's 2 nights.
It's 2 nights.
Yeah,
okay.
So that's separate.
Okay.
This is the Mountain Counties April 11th, 12th meeting, what you were just referring to up at Yuba, okay? And this is a draft agenda for that. That's this week. Okay, that's a little different. Okay, that's for June. So
It's April what?
April 11th and 12th.
Oh, that's 2 days from now. Yeah.
Right, and so that's this was suggested by Randy Fletcher, who is a supervisor at Yuba, and he also serves on the Yuba Water District also. He wears 2 hats there. So we're going to go that evening and network, have a tour the following day, and leave that same next day. So we don't really have a full day.
Okay.
Okay, but there's the draft agenda. And I'm finished. Yes.
I just wanted, I had a long conversation today with John Kingsbury, and I think you will be incredibly surprised by the lineup of people that he has invited to go to that. I mean, that's going to be quite a tour.
Which one? The Bullard's Bar.
2-day one?
Yeah. But that's,
The first one or second one we talked about? Okay.
that's his week.
Well, both of them actually.
Yeah.
We'll get this out to the full board, but
So,
Go ahead.
oh, I just have a question. You said there's a select group that had been sent to. Are we part of that select group, or how do we be
didn't get an
be
email
included?
on this.
No, I mean the
select
first
group.
one.
The
yeah.
first one, this is just being formed right now. I cannot answer that, but I will get that information to you. And it's not a Mountain Counties board meeting like the one this week.
Right.
Okay, that's kind of an extended board meeting. This is an actual bona fide field trip. I do not know the targeted audience. I would love it, but and he's looking for sponsors. These things cost, about $10K. Right. So with that, I will get back to Ed, and you can put
First of next week.
a message out.
First of next week.
Okay.
First part of next week.
Okay.
Yeah. It more or less was informational because of the itinerary. Yeah.
Okay.
But it would be fun to know.
Like Ron said, it sounded interesting, so.
Yes, absolutely.
Sounds very interesting.
All right, so far this month, I've met with Ed Pattison at our monthly meeting, and I also attended the LAFCO meeting for a couple hours yesterday as well.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, 4-1, with
Work out on that stuff.
with Board Director Rucker. He and I shouldered, with a little bit of help from Lisa Westbrook, the very toughest job at TUD, judging the third grade water conservation posters. 4-4, attended and participated in the Sonora EAP working group meeting. 4-4, attended the Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors, OES, CAL FIRE, et cetera, public fire safety program at number 2 Green Street. And 4-9, attended and participated, that's today, attended and participated in the Tuolumne County Natural Resource Committee meeting. That's it.
Oh, we have our
Recipients of the award.
Why don't you announce we'll take a break for the,
Yeah, we'll just take a little break here. I'm the only one left anyway.
yeah.
Break. All right.
Lisa, why don't you invite them up and introduce everybody? And get a photo.
Showing this earlier. Is that your poster? It's beautiful. Did you spend a lot of time on it? Great. So I have.
Man, it's windy outside. Yeah, it is.
This is a letter here saying what a great job you did, and then also some tickets for bowling and black.
Lines go down tonight.
Well, yeah, and then also a yogurt. So you can hold this poster here. I'd love to take a picture, and if the family wants to view the picture, they can. Whatever you feel comfortable with.
Want to get the board behind, have her come up here?
Oh, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
have the board
Is that
come
okay,
up.
guys? Yeah.
Congratulations, that's a
Yeah,
great
congratulations.
She's known for her artwork, not to brag.
All good.
They got the same shirts on. Yeah. I want everyone to see your beautiful ribbon.
Okay, look at her first, and then I'll. I'm going to take another one. 3, 2, 1. Great. Now I'll take one with your phone, Dad. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Brothers getting in.
Thank you, guys.
Nice job. Perfect timing. We were just wrapping up. Meeting went quicker than we thought. No, we didn't say 3, but it went quicker.
Thank you, guys.
Great job.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Schedule.
Okay, great.
We need to announce it today.
Thank you. Congratulations.
I think we ought to give a heads up.
Okay, I'm going to finish. 4-1, I met with Ed for our we meet every Monday before a board meeting. And then on 4-1, Ron and I had our fun judging the art contest. The winner just left. 4-4, Tuolumne County, attended the Tuolumne County Fire and Safety Preparedness meeting up at the Board of Supervisors chamber, which was very well attended and very, very informative. And I even felt really good because I picked up a bunch of packages from my neighbors that didn't go and delivered them to them. And on 4-8, met with Ed and Eric and Trinity, and they made her feel very, very welcome and very good, and I think they solved their problem on her construction water.
That was Habitat for Humanity.
What'd I say?
You said her Trinity.
Oh.
Just in case.
I thought everybody knew Trinity.
Yeah, she's the manager. Okay.
And I'd like to welcome Mr. Hanvelt, our past supervisor. Did a fantastic job for us. So with that.
For attending. Yeah.
Well, I do have one note. So we'll talk about it briefly, if I may, real quick. In May, the Aqua Conference is the second week, and that's also the week of your board meeting. So at the next board meeting agenda, we'll have an item. But I think that what I've heard from our board secretary is that to cancel that board meeting when it conflicts with your Aqua Conference. So that's coming up.
Cool.
They're both at the same time?
Yes.
I will be out of town anyway, so that's fine.
Will you be at Aqua?
No.
Oh.
I will be at my kids' graduations.
Oh, cool. That's right. That's awesome. Congratulations.
So I'm sorry, I just wanted to make sure your board's aware of that. We'll get more information out. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other, anything else for the order? Well, we'll adjourn. Over.
All right.